great. My name is Heidi. I was thinking to try to present today an international sign, but I think it's better to leave it for the experts, our interpreters. So I'm going to speak today, especially because where I am, it's 5 in the morning. And so my brain might not be the best today. Um, but I will go ahead and start and introduce our topics. I'm going to share my screen. So just a moment, please. Oh, just a second. A little bit of technical difficulties. Okay, present and share screen. Okay. Hopefully everyone can see this now. So this session, we're just going to be talking about the International Sign Accreditation Assessment Board. It's a very long name, so we call it ISAAB or ISAAB. So I'll be speaking, and my name's Heidi. I live in the United States, and I'm a sign language interpreter, and I help on the ISAAB. And then also who will be presenting today is Arūnas from Lithuania, and he is our WASLI representative, and he's awesome. So I'm just going to give a short introduction, turn the time to him to start. But I just want to also let you know what topics we're going to cover today. Oh, sorry. Okay. So what exactly, hang on. Here we go. What is ISAAB? Who are we? What's the history? And Arūnas will talk about that a little bit. And then we'll talk about the accreditation process overview, what to expect for the accreditation process this year. Also this year, we'll be introducing the pre-accreditation. So I'll explain a little bit about the difference between accreditation and pre-accreditation. We'll also go over the code of conduct, which is required of accredited and pre-accredited international sign interpreters. And then what happens after you become accredited and what to expect. So with that, I will go ahead and turn the time now to Arūnas for his portion of the presentation. It looks like he got busy. Okay, he's back.
Thank you for this opportunity. First of all, I want to say thank you for all the participants attending this conference. It is extremely great to see you all. So it's great to see all the presentations that's been presented also. My name is, that is my sign name, and Arūnas. I've been part of the World Sign Language Interpreters Association, so we focus on the interpreters in WASLI as well. And then also what we also then focus on, what I'm also involved in, is a really small group, the ISAAB. And this, what my involvement, what it really involves and it entails is that when we as interpreters, we share information, we discuss the accreditation rules and how we're going to proceed with the accreditation and how we're going to establish this. The WFD discussed in they decided that they want to have more interpreters that they will be able to select from, and how will the selection of the interpreters be? And then they proceeded with the plan. So the WFD, the World Federation of the Deaf, then said that they want more interpreters at these international meetings. We had it at sports, different international conferences. So WASLI, when it was established, was a new organization for Association of Interpreters. So the WFD and WASLI then decided that we want to have then the interpreters then accredited on an international level for the IS interpreters. So then ISAAB was then established, how interpreters will be able to interpret politically correctly, and then also to set up rules for the interpreters. So the ISAAB was then, as a group, as a small team, we as WFD and WASLI, then I'm also then a representative, then involved in this, and as a WFD, and then a person from how we select these interpreters, a linguist, people that train interpreters, and that we can then all work together to see, so that we can make sure that we can work together. So we then selected a panel then to assess then the interpreters. So then ISAB then is then on the background to make sure that when these interpreters and how they are selected. So it can be volunteers, people that are interested to be part, to be accredited, so they must be a conference interpreter. They must have different experiences, but everyone is then welcome to apply. So in 2015, what we've done is at the WFD Congress, also at the WASLI conference, we discussed, and people then said that there's no accreditation for deaf interpreters, and there's also no accreditation for hearing international sign interpreters. People know international signs, and how are we going to get them involved? Then in 2016, we started then with this process, then to get people then to apply for this accreditation process. So how do we select the interpreters? They need to submit their CVs. They also need to make sure to prove then, do they use then international signs, and how this also the Deaf Association, their evaluation of this interpreter, and do they work with the Interpreter Association, also with the Deaf Association, and then that is then submitted with us. It's like a portfolio of evidence, so that we then, the person that needs to understand their country's sign language very well and to be fluent in their country sign language, also understanding the deaf, how they work then with different countries as well as interpreters and their experience. For example, for sight interpreting, from sight interpreting to international sign interpreting, and then also to interpret from spoken language to international signs, and then also if this speaker is presenting in English, the IS interpreter then feeds then a deaf interpreter, and we also want to evaluate that process. So is the IS interpreter then able to feed the deaf interpreter correctly? So all of this evidence is being presented to us, or is it just feeding the information? But what is the relationship between the IS interpreter and the deaf interpreter? So from that, we then also evaluate. So if the person is speaking English, and then also then if the person, maybe it's not only if you have your reception skills that's very good, then you can also then do only for that one direction from English to IS, and you can also then be accredited. So if people can apply, it's open for applications, but we just need, you need to follow the criteria. And if you feel that you do not have enough experience, all people are welcome. You are welcome to apply for accreditation. It can be men, women from different demographics all over the world. You're welcome to submit your applications, and then then when we will then, Heidi will then explain more when when you can submit your applications, but you need to know that you are a fluent signer, that you have enough interpreting experience, that you really have internalized the code of ethics, and all of that needs to be a strong skill and a set of skills that you need, and then you can submit your application. So we're happy that people, when we want to increase the pool of interpreters. So it's not only that we use interpreters for conferencing. We, like Wesley, we have interpreters using for Wesley, for sport. There's interpreters that are good in doing voiceovers. There's interpreters that are doing good in signing. And there's interpreters that can feed other interpreters. So that we are increasing the pool of interpreters. So thank you for that at the last minute accepting this role of interpreters, and we really respect you as interpreters, people that do not have only a little bit of experience, and then to be part of this conference. Thank you for being part of this conference. I hope that you that been attending this conference, we hope that you will also then given an opportunity to be accredited interpreters. So I'm going to ask Heidi now then to do her part of the presentation. Thank you for watching.
Thank you so much, Arūnas. That was wonderful. I wish I could just keep watching you sign, and but now, okay, I'll go ahead and continue to explain a little bit more. So I'm going to share my screen again. So just a second. Okay. So Arūnas already explained a lot about what ISAAB is, what we do. So I'm going to skip this slide. So just to give you, I know a lot of people have been having questions about what to expect for the accreditation test for this year. And so first, thanks for your patience, because we're still trying to figure things out, because this is really kind of the first time that Wesley has taken over this process from WFD. And so as we're figuring things out, we expect to announce more specific dates this month. But the first part of the assessment process will be to submit a portfolio, and that should probably happen around September of this year. And so for interpreters wanting to apply to take the accreditation test, you can just keep in mind that you will have to submit a portfolio. The assessments will probably also happen a month or two after that. And then the results will come in a timely manner, but it will sort of depend on our assessors. And this year we are trying to offer the test in Spanish. As Arūnas was saying, we really want to involve everyone, and even people who want to develop and grow their experience. And Wesley recognizes that to be able to make this accessible for everyone, we need to provide it in more languages. And so this year we will hopefully have Spanish, possibly French, and then in the coming years we'll expand that to more languages, other UN languages. So that's just something to expect in the accreditation process for this year and years coming. Okay, so accreditation and pre-accreditation, just going to go over some of the differences. So how to obtain accreditation? You basically first submit a portfolio of evidence showing that you're qualified, and I'll talk about the qualifications later. And then you also have to pass an assessment, which will be an online assessment, and reviewers who are experts will review the video assessment that you take and give feedback to help you improve, or to say, yeah, you've passed, and then you become accredited. For pre-accreditation, you just submit a portfolio, and then that helps you to then get on track to become accredited, and to work towards that goal. Okay, so essential skills for the accreditation and for pre-accreditation, the essential skills are the same. So I'll explain what the difference is in the next slide, but just to know, the essential skills to prepare you is that you should, one, have formal recognition with the professional registration body of sign language interpreters, if possible, if it exists in your country. Number two, a university degree, preferably in a field such as interpreting, although that's not required. Number three, again, membership of a national and international interpreter organization. And for interpreters, national sign language in interpreters organization, and a either WASLI or European or other international organization, and membership of a regional national and international deaf organizations. So that's not the skills that you need, but that's just the qualifications. So I should have clarified that. So this slide shows actually the skills. And this is where you'll notice the difference between accreditation and pre-accreditation. So for accreditation and pre-accreditation, you must have proficiency in international sign. Second, you also must have proficiency in one of the testing languages. And as I said previously, the testing language was only in English. At least I'm pretty sure it's always in English. And this year we'll hopefully be providing it in Spanish as well. And then we will expand that to more languages in the future. Also, the next essential skill that's needed is so proficiency in your national sign language and spoken or written language. Now here's where the difference is for accreditation and pre-accreditation. For accreditation, you must have 5 years of experience or at least 150 days in interpreting for conferences or high-level meetings. And in pre-accreditation, that's 4 years of experience. And the next essential skill is to have, for accredited interpreters, 3 years of experience in international sign language interpreting, and then 2 years for pre-accreditation interpreters, so that they're working towards adding that 3rd year to become accredited. And then also both groups should have skills in co-working and team working with other professionals. Okay, desired skills. Again, this is the same for both: to have proficiency in a second national sign language and a second spoken and written language. And that's desired. That's not a requirement to become accredited, but it's always good to learn more sign languages, and I think it helps you get better at international sign language, I guess. So, okay, the knowledge that you should have to become both accredited or pre-accredited is the same. So you should have knowledge of current affairs, international geography, history, cultures, and social affairs. That's obviously very important to work in the international field. You should have familiarity with the history and international structure of deaf and sign language organizations such as World Federation for the Deaf, Deaf Olympics, WASLI, and other organizations in other regions. Knowledge of international institutions that cooperate with these organizations, UN and international structures, Disability Alliance, regional political organizations, knowledge of countries, their cultures, politics, and history. So that's the essential knowledge that is required to become accredited or pre-accredited international sign language interpreter. Okay, also to become accredited and pre-accredited, you must follow the WASLI Code of Conduct. So these are the main tenets, the main points within the Code of Conduct. So professional conduct and confidentiality, obviously maintaining confidentiality, not posting assignments on social media, keeping the deaf consumers and the information about assignments private and confidential so that we can maintain trust within the field. Accountability for professional decisions. So kind of some of the points along that are not accepting assignments for which you're not qualified, not double booking assignments, and maintaining professional relationships is part of it. You know, always having respect for colleagues, for consumers, and providing one of the things also is providing a faithful and culturally linguistically appropriate rendering. So making sure that the interpretation is clear, that it's appropriate for the language, for the culture. And working conditions, making sure that working conditions are appropriate for assignments. Because of time, I won't explain more of the details of the Code of Conduct, but I can definitely email that out. So if you want a copy of the Code of Conduct, which is something everyone should know and be familiar with, please feel free to email me, and I'll type my email later in the chat, so that if you would like a copy of Code of Conduct, I highly, highly encourage everyone to read it in detail. Okay, so after you submit a portfolio showing your skills, showing that you have the essential knowledge and skills to become accredited or pre-accredited, and then you pass the accreditation test, then you're required every year to continue in professional development. So each year you should have at least 24 hours of activities engaged in international sign and development. So you will keep a record of that. And to show you an example, okay, so this is part of the form where you would submit your professional development. So 10 hours directly related to international sign and 14 hours can be general activities. And these are some examples. So I'll just give you a second to look at that. You can serve as a leader, act as a mentor. You can continue learning, attending courses that lead to certification, contributing to projects, working as an instructor, or doing research, work involved in research and publication. All of these would count towards your professional development to continue to maintain your accreditation. So for pre-accreditation, if your pre-accreditation is approved, then you would be paired with an international sign interpreter mentor. You should have you should have an interpreter mentor. Do we still have an interpreter on the screen? I can't see, but I just saw the interpreter disappear.
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
So back to being pre-accredited. So you should have an international sign interpreter mentor, and then have at least 10 days working on an international sign with more experienced teams to support your development. So that's really the overview. I'll stop sharing my screen now. That is the overview of what to expect for accreditation and pre-accreditation. And with that, we have about 8 minutes left. So I would like to leave time if anyone has questions.
Yes, I would like to ask something.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Hi.
Sorry. The moderator has come on.
Thank you for your presentation. I really appreciate Heidi, and thank you, Arūnas. So thank you for your presentations. We've got 2 questions so far. The one question is then from South Africa. The person is asking, I know South Africa has 11 official languages, and then also South African Sign Language is recognized as a language. In South Africa, the Deaf Association is training sign language interpreters, but the deaf interpreters, how can we ensure that the deaf interpreters can be included in South Africa in the training? Okay.
Okay, I'm not sure if I understood fully the question about, so I can answer like how we're trying to involve like deaf interpreters involved in WASLI and for international sign, because the test is accessible for deaf interpreters who want to become accredited or pre-accredited. The test is available for deaf, but specifically for South Africa, I don't know, maybe I didn't hear everything correctly. Arūnas, do you have anything you want to add?
Thank you. Really, the question belongs to, it's really related to deaf interpreters, and especially with Australia as well. So I would like the question more to international sign interpreters. So, you know, then the second question is from Australia, is that with deaf interpreters recognize their work in conferences, and it's not recognized. So maybe like Belgium and Europe, where deaf interpreters are used. And more the question is related to deaf interpreters and not really to international sign interpreters. Arūnas? Nigel, thank you. Maybe we only specifically allow questions for international interpreters, not other countries specifically to other interpreter situations, but the questions must relate to international sign interpreters and the accreditation thereof. So how do we make sure that deaf interpreters also become then international sign interpreters, and to get more involved into that pool of international sign interpreters? So is it because in that country it's not really, the deaf interpreters are not really paid, and they not really have, they only have a few opportunities in their country. How can we need to ensure that those deaf interpreters develop in that specific countries to become then international sign interpreters?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. So it's hard because you have to do a lot of like advocacy work for your country, right? And I'm sorry, I didn't realize we're talking about Australia. I thought I heard South Africa before. So anyway, I'm sorry about that. But for Australia, yeah, there's a lot of advocacy work that needs to be done. And that I think is something that WASLI and WFD and ISAAB, these organizations were trying to encourage. And I think, so Arūnas, he is actually in charge of, I think, deaf interpret, like he's the expert when it comes to deaf interpreters. So I'm gonna let him answer more. But I just want to emphasize that, you know, most, and Arūnas can clarify, but I think most of our international sign interpreters are deaf, and we really encourage, we want to show an example to help other countries do the advocacy work to show that we need to bring in the deaf interpreters, and then that's very important. Arūnas, do you want to add to that?
Thank you, Heidi. Maybe can we get the interpreter reading?
Yeah, voice interpreters. Okay.
Thank you. I think, yes, sorry, the interpreter don't have access, sorry. So we have in different countries, the situations are different. But what I can say is that as if you grew up as a deaf and you went to a school of the deaf and you've been not taught in the sign language of your country. So there's so much different organizations of deaf people with different experiences. So like the hearing interpreters, some are coders and some have learned sign language. So you need a deaf interpreter and a hearing interpreter. The work is exactly the same. So, for example, me, I've got a qualification. I'm accredited deaf interpreter. Same as we have with sign language interpreters. I've got a BA degree in interpreting. So that is exactly the same as we have with sign language interpreters that are hearing. So it's Interpreter Association and the Deaf Association Interpreting Services need to work together to ensure that deaf interpreters or hearing interpreters are developed and that they are encouraged and given opportunities. So when, if interpreters, the spoken, because we have spoken language interpreters with language one, with their English, and then also deaf interpreters with sign language, we can't disregard the one and not the other one. So we need to make sure that everyone have equal opportunities, that they trained, that they receive training. So yeah, so that's my response. Thank you.
Can I add that really quick? I just wanted to say that maybe the ISAAB, if we don't have like a paper, something already, maybe we could discuss having like a paper of standards that like other deaf interpreters can borrow from and use and show for their countries, and show that like the rights of deaf interpreters getting paid and fair, you know, equal things, like just standard practices for the profession of interpreting for deaf interpreters. That I think that's something worth discussing with WASLI and ISAAB. I hope that makes sense. I'm trying to sign and speak at the same time. So was that clear? Do we have other questions?
Nigel, okay. You were clear. Thank you. It was beautiful. Thank you. There's one person that raised his hand, Gabriel. Can we spotlight Gabriel, please?
Yes.
Okay, you can continue.
Okay, yes.
Please put on your video.
No, I was trying to ask orally. Okay. No, my question is, Okay, thank you. My question is about because some of the countries, I am from Argentina, and we have not so many training in IS, in international sign. So if you and I see that some of the prerequisites or the requisites are that you have 5 years or 4 years of experience in that field. If you are taking into account this situation, this context, and trying to help or giving some training or something like that in order to encourage deaf interpreters and also hearing interpreters that maybe we do want to be trained in international sign. Thank you.
Nigel, thank you. Heidi, can you respond?
I'm sorry, my sound cut out. Like it cut out. Yeah, could you repeat the question just briefly?
Yes. If you are going to, or if you have thought about giving some training for those countries where international sign is not something that you can access that easily as in other countries, just like US or other Europe.
That's a great question. So,
Thank
and
you.
the interpreters reminded me that I don't need to sign and speak at the same time because the interpreters are here. So thank you for that. So I think it would be great. So to provide to have some sort of training on international sign language, and I know that there are different training classes that happen in different countries, but in terms of providing that to all regions and providing that to your region, I don't know if that's something that WASLI or ISAAB has talked about providing. But if you do want a mentor, you can always email us and we could try to pair you with a mentor who might be willing, who is already accredited or pre-accredited international sign interpreter. And maybe from there it could start growing interest and available opportunities and resources to learn in your region. I don't know if that helps, but definitely I think what we can help with now is trying to find a mentor and then later talking about how we can expand and provide more opportunities.
Great, thank you.
Nigel, thank you. Heidi, Arūnas. Yes, yeah, it's exactly the same as Heidi has been explained. Thank you. Nigel, okay, thank you. If you if you can't spoke, if you want to speak English, please type your question into the chat box and then we will ask the question. And then one question asked us, what is the cost to be accredited to get involved into this?
So the cost, honestly, I don't have my notes in front of me right now. So I know the cost is different for developing countries and it's a little bit higher for non-developing countries. If you email me, I will send you that information. I do know that after you become accredited, you do have to pay to maintain the accreditation, but it's only every 5 years. And I believe for non-developing countries, that's $500 for those 5 years. But for the accreditation test itself, I'm embarrassed to say I don't know. I forgot and I don't have that number right in front of me. So please send me an email and I will respond. So thanks for your patience with that. Arūnas might know. he has his hand up.
Arūnas, linked to the country. It's linked with GDP. So that's how we calculate then the cost for the accreditation. Thank you. Nigel, one person asked, the person is from Australia. The hours to get the necessary training as interpreters and then to be able to really fully internalize international sign interpreters, because we feel that other countries only do have a very little opportunities to get that necessary experience every year. So, but they will be able to add so many experience to their portfolio, but other countries do not have this necessary experience and necessary hours of interpreting. How will we deal with this?
Do you mean the professional development for after you become accredited? Or do you mean the portfolio to apply for accreditation? Pre-accreditation. Okay. Again, that's a really great question. So to have so many days, I think 120 days of experience or something, and then let me look at my presentation again, see how many days related to international sign that is. 20 days in international sign at regional events with conference or high-level meeting settings. If you're looking for opportunities and you don't have any in your country, again, I would definitely reach out to the accreditation email that I sent, and we can help you we're happy. Sorry, just a second. We're happy to try to help you locate opportunities, whether it's online conferences that you might be able to access, learning opportunities related to international sign. I'm happy to help look for those opportunities to help interpreters to become pre-accredited, because as Arūnas was saying before, we really want to have everyone involved as much as possible. And we realize that the opportunities are limited for different regions. And we want to be able to provide the accreditation in all languages. And it's really going to take time for us to do that together. And it's going to take a community effort to do that. So, please reach out to us, and we can reach out to other people also in your region that we might know and network together to try to build those opportunities together to help everyone to work towards that pre-accreditation. I hope that helps. I know it's not perfect situation. It's not perfect. I wish I had a better answer right now. But yeah, I hope that helps a little bit. I do think our community here, like you can see there's so many people here, and we all want to help each other. So we'll find a way together.
Arūnas, anything to add? No, nothing from my side. Nigel? As we want to end this presentation, so many questions have come forward and so many people want to get information on this. So it means that you really had a good presentation. So that, yes, there's a person that already put down the information for the prices and so forth. It's been in the chat box, and then thank you. And then also there's one person that's been, yes, if you have international sign interpreters, but there's more American Sign Language influences. How do we screen that we don't allow that American Sign Language do not influence international signs? So, but we don't have time then to really continue with this. But if you would like to become international sign interpreter, but not to make sure that you influence American Sign Language. But if you are international sign interpreters, or is this American Sign language that is it influenced by American Sign Language? Arūnas, from my side, I know that international sign is unique on its own. So I know that the countries, you need to be fluent in your own country's sign language, and to make sure that you're very visual and that you understand and that you use facial expressions very well. But if you do not have enough experience, then if you go to international sign language interpretation, it will be very complicated. So that with American Sign Language, it's maybe we need to think to see, we as the panel then will definitely look at these questions and also evaluate the person that it's not influenced by American Sign Language. So I think we're going to wrap up. Nigel, thank Arūnas. I have nothing to say. Heidi, anything you want to say as a wrap-up question or response? There's so many questions, but
Yeah, I just want to say, like, thank you so much to everyone. And I really wish we had more time. I wish I could just spend some time one-on-one with everyone. It's really fun to just be here and kind of meet people briefly, but please feel free to email the accreditation email. I'll type it again. Please email us, and I'm happy to discuss more. So thank you again. This has been really great.
One person asked, will you please put in your email in the chat box, please?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was accidentally emailing.
That's a question.
Privately.
Heidi is busy doing it.
I accidentally was, sorry. Too much going on at once. Okay. Let me. Okay, it should be there now.
Perfect.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
Not a problem. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your responses to the questions. It was good explanations, so thank you. And then also, if you consider to be in a future international sign interpreter, and yeah, good luck for you. And then thank you so much. And though we close the session, we're now going to the closing remarks session. Thank you.